Welcome to Photoshop. In this beginner Photoshop tutorial, I'm going to show you all you need to know to get started in Photoshop. When you launch Photoshop, you'll be greeted with this home page over here, and this is called the home screen. The home screen is your landing page when you open Photoshop. It consists majorly of your recent documents, which are all of this over here, and a search bar where you can search for previous documents. It also has the option to open a previous Photoshop document and to create a new Photoshop document. And I'm going to show you how to create a new Photoshop document later on in the video. So I'm just going to hit close for now. It also has the logo over here. When you select this logo, it takes you to the workspace. Now this is the workspace. It comprises of the toolbar over here, and also it comprises of the menus over here and the options over here. You also have the panels over here. Now if you go back and select the home icon over here, it takes you back to the home page. So I'm going to select this logo over here to go once more into my workspace over here. Now the workspace is simply the space where you work in Photoshop. In your workspace, you will have all your tools right over here. And if you want to see them better, or you want to see more tools, you just need to select this arrow over here and you'll see them fall into two lines. Also, you will see little triangles at some of the edges. If you select it, it means that there are other tools and not just one. For example, this hand tool has the hand tool and the rotate view tool. And if I select and hold down this selection tool, I have two options, is the path selection tool and the direct selection tool. You will also find keyboard shortcuts. If I select this right now and hold, you will find I have the pen tool, the freeform pen tool, the curvature pen tool, add anchor points tool, delete anchor, and convert points tool. We have our panels over here to control different functions. Like we have the color panel over here to adjust color. We have gradient panel, we have patterns panel, swatches. We have properties over here to adjust properties of elements, adjustments. We have library, we have layers, and a lot more over here. The third most important portion of your workspace is your canvas, and this is where all your work and painting goes. To create a new canvas, all you need to do is to come over here and create file, new, and you can create a document here. So you can select this option and give it a name. I'm going to set this as beginner 101. I'm going to leave my width at 1080 and my height at 1350. One of the things you will notice is that we have several templates over here. Now we have for photo, we have both the landscape and the portrait formats over here. We also have for prints like A4 and A5 papers. We also have for arts and illustrations. We have templates for web formats, and we have for mobile, and we have for films and videos. So I'm just going to go to photos over here, and I'm going to select a format here, then come over to my preset over here. The name has already been set. I'm going to change it from inches to pixels, and I'm going to set this as 1080 and set my height at 1350 because I'm trying to create an Instagram dimension over here. You can always change the orientation as you like. My resolution 300 is fine, and I'm going to leave this as pixels inch. Color mode is best as RGB, and I'm going to hit create. And as you can see, automatically we've created our canvas over here. But if your workspace doesn't look like mine, you don't need to panic. All you need to do is to come over to window over here, come down to workspaces, and select essential default, and it's going to automatically reset your workspace to the default settings, which is essential. But if your workspace is already on essential and it still looks complex, for example, let's say you have the color hanging over here, you have the gradient hanging over here, you have patterns hanging over here, and you have swatches hanging over here. All you need to do is to go back to Windows over here, go over to Workspaces, and as you can see, we have the essential default, and we also have reset essentials. All you need to do is to hit reset essentials, and it's going to look exactly like the default settings for essentials. You can also customize and delete a panel. For example, like I said, you can take this from here and drag it to here if you want it. And if you want to delete a panel, all you need to do is to select this X button over here, and there you have it deleted. You can select this, bring it out, and have it deleted like that also. But there are also more panels than we can see over here. To see all the panels, what you need to do is to go over to Windows over here, and you have some more panels that are being represented over here. Now if you want it to pop up all you need to do is select that panel and it's going to appear over here. And I can select this to hide it. So you can customize your workspace however you like. And once you have created your workspace, you might want to save it. To do that, all you need to do is to go over to Window over here and come down to Workspace and select New Workspace and give it a name. I'm going to name this My Workspace. And if you've done any settings for keyboard shortcuts, you can select them to save it. If you've done for menus and toolbars, you can check it also to save it and hit save. If you go over to the Windows tab over here and scroll down to Workspaces, you will see the workspace that you have created. And for example, if you now scatter the workspace that you have created and it's no longer as it needs to be, you can always go over to Window and scroll down to Workspaces, and you have seen my workspace that I created over here, which is my custom workspace. You can also come down to select Reset My Workspace, which is my custom workspace, and automatically you have your custom workspace set back to its default settings. Another thing you can do is to switch between different workspaces. For example, if you come over to Window over here and select Workspace, you will notice that we have a workspace for graphics and web, and this workspace carries everything we need for creating graphics and web templates. If you come over to Workspace, you can also see for painting, and you can see everything that we need for painting. The tools and the panels are up here. If you go back to Workspace over here and you select photography, all the tools, the panels we need for photography automatically pops open. The next thing you need to see is how to open a file in Photoshop. There are a couple of ways to open a file in Photoshop. The first way is to come over here to File and select Open, and select the file you want to open in Photoshop and hit Open. And automatically you will see that this file has been opened in Photoshop. Another way to open a file in Photoshop is to go over to your Window Explorer and drag the file into Photoshop. And as you can see, this file has been opened in Photoshop. You can go over to the edge over here and select it and drag it down or drag it to the top to resize it. But what if you want to open another file as a separate document? So if I come over here, you will notice that we have a separate document, which was the first file I opened in Photoshop. If I come over here, you will see the second file I opened over here. So to open a file as a separate document in Photoshop, all you need to do is to select that file. Let me select this and drag it into Photoshop. But rather than dropping it here on your Canva, you want to come over to this portion over here and release it over here. And that is going to create a separate document. So right now I have 3 different documents in Photoshop. And don't forget that if you want to open a new file from your workspace, you come over here to File and select New, and you'll see the templates over here. You select whatever template you like, from the photo, from the print, from the art illustration, from the web, depending on what you're trying to create for. You give it a name, you select your orientation, your width and your height, and you come over here and select RGB and you hit create. But I already have 3 open, so I'm not going to open a new one. The next thing we need to look at is how to save a file in Photoshop. To save a file in Photoshop, all you need to do is to hit Ctrl and S on your keyboard if you're using a Windows PC, or Command S on your keyboard if you are using a Mac. Or alternatively, you can come over to File and scroll down and hit Save. But this is not highlighted because I've not applied any effects to this. So to save this on your computer, all you need to do is to come over here to File and select Save As. And automatically, you will notice that we have a lot of formats to save this document as. We have Photoshop, which is PHD, which stands for Photoshop Documents. We have GIF, we have JPEG. The first thing you need to do is to select the document and give it a name. So for example, I'm going to give this Export 1. Select the location where you want it saved and hit Save. So you want to set the quality as high and hit OK. Now if I go over to this tab over here, you will find Export 1 over here. But it's important that you take note of this, that if you create multiple layers, let's say for example that I bring in another picture over here to create, so now I have 2 layers over here, and let's say I come over to this icon over here and select this to add another layer. So what is happening now is that I have multiple layers. Now if I try to export this, I go over to File and I scroll down and select Save As. You will notice that if I check the format, I have only 4 formats over here. That's because these are the only 4 formats that accept saving layered documents. So I'm going to cancel this. But what if you want to save it as a JPEG? So what I'm going to do now is to probably select this first layer over here and select the move tool over here and move this so that we can recognize this. Now if I select this and we are trying to export this, we are trying to save this into our PC, all you need to do is to scroll over here to File, scroll down and select Save a Copy. And now if I come over to the options over here, you can see that we have all the options over here. You can even select JPEG. Now I'm going to give this as JPEG export. Now I'm going to rename this to JPEG export and hit save and hit OK. If I come over here, you can find JPEG export. So it's important that you know how to manipulate saving documents in Photoshop. To delete a file from your Canva, all you need to do is to select it and come over here. Make sure that the lock screen is not there. For example, if I select this and come over to this delete icon over here and hit delete, you'll be prompted with a question asking you if you truly want to delete this file. Hit yes to delete. And now as you can see, we have only 2 layers over here. There are 3 important things to keep in mind when working in Photoshop. The first thing is the status bar. You can find the status bar over here. The status bar is right here at the bottom and it gives you the status of the image. The status bar is right here at the bottom and it gives you the status of the image. And also it gives you the percentage zoom in or zoom out of the image. For example, you can see that this is 66.67% and 1920 pixels by 1280 pixels. So if I hold down Ctrl and hit minus, I'm going to be zooming out and you will notice that the value here has changed to 33.33%. But if I hold down Ctrl and hit the plus sign to zoom in, you will notice that the value has changed over here to 400%. Also, if you select this arrow over here, you will notice that we also have some more details over here. For example, if you select the layer count, you will be able to see how many layers are on this Canva. For example, it's showing that we have 2 layers here, and that's because we really have only 2 layers here. If I come over here and select add layer, you will notice that it has increased now to 3 layers. Another option we have here when selecting it is the save progress option. You can always save your progress. Another option we have over here when selecting it is the document sizes, which gives you the size of your documents over here. So we have 7.03 meters by 7.03 meter. Another option we have here is the document dimension, which we initially saw, that gives us the resolution of the image. Another thing here is the current tool. This lets us know the tool that is currently selected. So for example, you can see that what is currently selected here is the move tool. So with that tool, which is this tool over here, I am able to move this image. For example, if I select this image over here, I can move this. Alright, so I'm not able to move this because the layer is locked. So all I need to do is to unlock this. I forgot about that. And now I can move this to whatever region I prefer. So now if I should come over here and select the selection tool, you will see that it has changed to the name of the tool selected, which is the path selection tool. If I come over here and select another tool, you can see the name of the tool here, which is the object selection tool. Next, we have the menu bar over here, which is this menu over here. The menu bar controls how Photoshop looks, works, and functions. For example, I'm going to select the selection tool over here. Now, if I select File and select New, like I showed you, I'm able to create a new document, which I'm not trying to create right now. If I come over to select over here and scroll down and select Subject, I'm able to select the subject over here. Now, if I come over to filter over here and scroll down and select blur and select Gaussian blur, I'm able to blur the image over here as you can see. I'm going to hit Ctrl Z to undo that. Also, we have the option bar, which is this bar over here. Now, the option bar is connected to specific tools over here. For example, right now I'm selecting my path selection tool and you can see the options that are given to me over here. So for example, if I come down here and select text, you will notice that the options here have changed. I have the option now to change the font type. I have the option now to change the font style. I have the option here to change the font size, smooth, to align it to the left and the right and all of that. So for example, if I select text and I come over here and I type a text, let's say I type smooth, I can come over here and change the color to white and hit OK. Or I need to highlight that first. Highlight my text, select white and hit OK. And you will notice that the entire options here are linked directly to this type text that is selected over here. Another thing you can do with the type tool, if you select it and hold down, you'll see that apart from typing horizontally, you can type vertically. So if I select this and type a word, it's going to type vertically. So I'm going to select the move tool over here and move this text down. So by the way, that's the move tool over there. With the move tool, you can move your text or whatever subject as you prefer. If you select the type tool once more, we have the vertical type marks tool and the horizontal type marks tool, which I'm not going to explain in this basic tutorial. To modify a text, simply double click on this T over here and you can change the text. For example, I'm going to change this to Photoshop. So if I select this move tool over here and move this down, you can see what we have created. And if I want to change this text over here, what I need to do is to come down and select this text layer first. Then I'm going to double tap the T over here and now I can change this word to tutorial. To change the name of a layer, all you need to do is to come over to the name over here and double tap it. And I can change this name from Photoshop to layer text. And I can double tap this and change the name to tutorials. I'll simply just add S to that. Please note that if you are trying to move one item and another item is moving, for example, I'm selecting this image over here, but the Photoshop text is moving. The reason for that is that one, what is selected here is that text and not the layer of that woman over there. To fix that, what you need to do is to come over to this option menu over here and select auto select. Now if I select this lady and move her, she's going to move. And if I select Photoshop over here, it's Photoshop that will move. If I select tutorial, tutorial will move. So that's the importance of having this auto select either checked on or checked off. The next thing we need to talk about is the zoom tool. So how to use the zoom tool in Photoshop. Now, if you come over to the zoom tool over here and you select it, you would notice that I've not really used the zoom tool all through this tutorial. And that's because you can actually zoom in and zoom out without making use of the zoom tool. But to use the zoom tool, after you have selected the zoom tool over here, all you need to do is to select on your mouse and move to the right to zoom in. And if you move to the left, it will zoom out. To fit it back to the screen, all you need to do is to select fit screen over here. If you want it to fill the screen, select fill screen over here. But I'm going to take it back to fit screen. You can also hit Ctrl+0 to fit screen on Windows or Command+0 to fit screen on Mac. The next thing we need to talk about is layers. Now layers show the stack of elements. For example, we have several layers over here. As you can see, this is layer 0. We have one text, second text, and we have two extra layers that were just created. You can hide a layer by coming down over here and selecting this eye tool over here. And as you can see, we've hidden that layer. And if I select it back, we've revealed that layer. You can also create a new layer by coming over to this plus sign and hitting plus to create a new layer. Now, if you come over to the type tool over here and type a text, that text is going to be on this layer that is selected. So if I deselect this layer, you will notice that that text is no longer visible. You can also delete layers by selecting the layer and selecting the delete icon over here and hit yes, and select another layer, select the delete icon over here and select yes. I'm just going to repeat this for a couple of layers. And you can also adjust the thumbnail of your layers. For example, if I select this empty space over here, right click, I can make my thumbnail small. I can select no thumbnails and I can also make it medium thumbnails. I'm going to make this large thumbnails. You can also select a layer over here. For example, if I select this layer over here, I can reduce the opacity of this layer. So if I change this opacity now to 50%, you will notice that this Photoshop text over here is reducing its opacity. So I'm going to take this down to 10% right now. And as you can see, the opacity is really dropping. Now, if I select this layer over here and reduce her opacity from 10 to 20, you can see what we have now. Now, if I change it back to 80, you can see what we have. So I'm going to change this back to 100. A very important panel in Photoshop is the history panel. To locate the history panel, just come over to this tab over here and select it, and you can see all the changes we've made for a while. Another important topic in Photoshop is the camera. So if I come over to this program over here and I select 3 photos and I drag these 3 photos onto Photoshop and I bring them onto this tab section over here and release them, you'll notice that I have automatically created 3 documents over here, or 3 different canvas over here. To close a document, simply come over here, select the document and hit this X sign next to it to close it. You can also pull out your documents like this in Photoshop, and if you want to arrange them all back as tabs, all you need to do is to go over to Window over here and select Arrange and select Consolidate All to Tabs, and we've successfully arranged them back as tabs. But if you want to compare them side by side, all you need to do is to come over to Window and select Arrange, and because there are 3 images, if you want them to line up horizontally or line up vertically, you select them. So I'm just going to select 3 up horizontal. You can always come over here and select Windows, Arrange, 3 up vertical, and now we have them arranged vertically if you want to compare them side by side. If you want to change your canvas background color, all you need to do is to select a separate portion of your canvas, right click and select a color you prefer. For example, we've made it black. I can right click again and make it dark gray. I can right click again and make it medium gray. You can also make it custom color, and you can select a custom color you prefer. For example, you can select green over here, select green, hit OK, and now your canvas has turned to green. A very important feature is the transform tool. To activate the transform tool, you can come over to Window over here and scroll down and select transform. To activate the transform tool, you want to select a tab and come over to Window over here. So to take it back to the way it was, I'm going to go back to Windows over here, select Arrange and go back to Consolidate All to Tabs. Another important tool in Photoshop is the transform tool. To activate the transform tool, hold down Ctrl and T. But make sure that there is no lock screen on your layer, otherwise it might not work. And now, as you can see over here, I can now come over here and select this portion and drag it down or transform it by increasing the scale. I can also hold down Shift and stretch only one portion. I'm going to hit Ctrl Z to undo that. Another thing you will notice over here is that if you come over to this edge or any edge, you can actually rotate this image over here. You also notice an anchor over here. That means that this video is being transformed around this anchor. To remove this anchor, all you need to do is to deselect this point over here. But if I select this anchor and I move this anchor to one portion, now if I rotate this image, it's going to be rotating around that anchor. Let me take that back. It's going to be rotating around that anchor. And if I should scale it, it's going to scale around that anchor. So I'm going to hit Ctrl Z to undo all of that. This is how to remove an object in Photoshop. What you need to do is to come over here and select this object selection tool and select this object selection tool and come over here and select the image and select the object. Next, right click and select delete and fill selection, and automatically you will notice that that object has been removed. Next, how to change background in Photoshop. I'm going to go over to my window explorer over here and select this image and bring it into Photoshop and place it above this other image over here. It's important that you note that if this other image is brought beneath, the reason why it can't come down is because this is locked. So if I unlock this and drag this above, this particular image is going to fill up and cover the other image. So I'm going to layer this down by dragging this beneath. Now, to remove the background from this image, all you need to do is to select this layer, or else it won't work, and scroll over here and select and come down here and select subject, and automatically you'll notice that this subject here has been selected. Now, to remove the background, come over here and select this and select the layer mask, and automatically you will notice that the layer has been removed from that image. And that's it, guys, on how to remove a background from a photo in Photoshop. This is the end of my introductory course in Photoshop 101. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button and see you in my next tutorial.